Good evening and welcome to a stream by Freedom Media WA. As a non-government sponsored independent journalist, I'm coming across more and more concerning trends with parliamentary inquiries. With this week just passed, this trend was extremely evident. In this stream, I'm going to play you a short clip from a Community Affairs Senate hearing last Thursday. And whilst you watch this clip, I ask that you consider the following question. Given these Senate inquiries are live streamed, meaning that they are open and accessible to anybody who chooses to, more importantly, anybody who has the time to tune in and watch these Senate inquiries. Should live streams be stopped? And stopped in particular where a duly elected senator is putting questions to a non-elected government bureaucrat where the question does not suit the particular narrative. Let's have a look and see what you think.
Now, my next question is, there's a 21-year-old female who died from the Moderna vaccine. She had an antiphospholipid syndrome, which is an autoimmune disease. Now, the vaccine was never tested on people with autoimmune diseases. Why haven't you put a warning label on the actual vaccine to warn people that if they have an antiphospholipid syndrome, which is 1 in 2,000 people, higher than the rate of multi-inflammatory disease that you've said 1 in 3,000. Why haven't you put a warning label on the vaccine to warn people about that?
Senator, again, I've got to pick you up on your science. First of all, antiphospholipid syndrome is actually even a bit more common than that. It might be 1% of people. So it's a considerably common condition. I then go to the patient group. There's actually a patient support group in the UK for people who have antiphospholipid syndrome. And I will read from their web advice to patients. There is no evidence to suggest that patients with antiphospholipid syndrome were at increased risk of complications from the available COVID vaccines.
Okay, thank you. So you said in a press conference that Moderna would provide 100% protection from death. Well, in this particular case, it didn't.
Senator,
you said it would provide... I haven't
that.
finished my question. Don't interrupt.
Well,
you said it would provide...
Excuse me.
Sorry.
Senator Rennick is entitled to ask his question in silence. Professor Skerritt, I will give you an opportunity to respond in full.
You said it would provide protection from infection for 93% of the people for up to 6 months. You were wrong. Will you retract that statement?
No, Senator, I will not retract that statement. Once again, you've quoted me out of context, and I would suggest deliberately, Senator. But you have somehow reworded it, Senator.
Excuse me.
I'm quoting your own
Skerritt.
words.
Senator Antic on a point of order.
I want to raise a point of order. The Professor has clearly impugned Senator Rennick's motives for this from saying he deliberately misquoted something or misled him.
Well, I think that's the fact.
Sorry, point of order for you as well, Minister.
To raise awareness of the risks of the Moderna vaccine.
Senator Rennick.
You are projecting misinformation and then challenging it when it's met with factual answers. That's what's going on here.
This is on the
record. Make no mistake, we're all aware of what's going on. The evidence and facts doesn't suit your narrative. It doesn't suit your narrative. I've been watching you.
Senators.
I've been watching you scoff. I've been watching you roll your eyes.
Senators and Minister.
Senators
and Minister. I will suspend the committee again if I cannot bring the committee to order. This will take a very long time if every few minutes I have to suspend. The committee suspends. Broadcasting can be turned off, please.
So there you go. What do you think about that? And I must say that this week in the Senate inquiries, it was particularly fiery. That wasn't just the first occasion that the chair suspended the inquiry. It was done on a number of times. So again, I ask you, having just seen that package, what do you think about that? Should suspending live streams be stopped by the chair? It should also be remembered that the first instance and the purpose of these Senate inquiries, and that is that they are critical for gathering evidence and scrutinising government actions and holding these non-elected bureaucrats to account for the public. And if these live streams are being stopped simply because the questions asked do not fit the particular narrative, it could be perceived as an attempt to manipulate the public's perception of the issues at hand. And this could lead to the public's trust in the inquiry process being severely damaged. it potentially could not only undermine the transparency and accountability of this inquiry process, but in my view, it could raise serious questions about the motives of those involved in these inquiries. And this is especially problematic when the role of mainstream media political journalists, and that is to hold those in positions of power to accountability by raising questions and concerns about the transparency of these inquiry processes. Not only stopping a live stream in response to an inconvenient question that's unacceptable, the duty of mainstream journalists should be to expose such practices when this occurs, and this is paramount that this happens. The public should see the conduct of live stream inquiries without suspensions. It is what it is, and it should be broadcast in its raw form. When you have mainstream media not reporting on live streaming inquiry suspensions, the fact that they're actually suspending these inquiries, that raises another question. And I'm going to pose this to you. And that is it a further attempt to suppress information and control the narrative? And if the answer to that question is yes, then does this in turn create a serious consequence for the democratic process by failing to ensure that the public is fully informed about these issues and to hold those in power to account? The pressure of life at the moment is fast-paced, and we all know that it's near impossible for the public inquiry to watch these inquiries all the time. You've just seen an example of what happens where there are really more questions than answers, and with what answers are given, if you're prevented from seeing the whole story, then this potentially it can be, as I say, an attack on the democratic process. It should be transparent. There should not be suspensions, in my view. The best way to create awareness of this process is, as I say, in all streams, is to share a stream of this nature, because you will not find mainstream media highlighting this exchange and questions being asked by a small number of senators that are extremely important, as you've just heard. And they are being censored. You're being censored from hearing this. I'm Lindsay from Freedom Media. Thank you, thank you for watching this stream.
By Freedom Media.